We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Meta apologizes before Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information Technology over removal of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Facebook video. Members demand accountability. EU interior ministers to hold emergency talks on Ceuta migrant rush. France rejects outrageous proposal of UK opposition leader Farage to deploy navy to stop the influx. Cargo vessel hit by unknown projectile in Strait of Hormuz. Trump says Iran facing last chance before decapitation. Tehran says it is in talks with Oman but not the US. Storms disrupt Cuba's power restoration less than a day after 6th nationwide blackout. U.S. Northwest and Europe battle raging wildfires. 65,000 forced out of U.S. city of Spokane. Increased wildfires near Athens continue to rage for 5th day. And on to the details. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen proposed on Monday that the European Union further strengthen its borders and increase support for Morocco to help prevent a repeat of the chaotic influx. She called for united action on border security after some 60,000 migrants entered the Spanish enclave from Morocco. In a letter to Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, von der Leyen wrote from this incident, it is clear that they must do more to further strengthen the borders at critical points. Von der Leyen also commended Sanchez on the swift handling of the crisis that saw tens of thousands of people stream into Ceuta from Morocco, almost all of whom have since left. However, the unprecedented scenes in Ceuta sparked sharp tensions among the European Union's 27 member states, with migration hawks Italy and Denmark calling for Spain to be suspended from the Schengen free travel area. Meanwhile, Moroccan officials said on Monday Spanish authorities should have anticipated the consequences of a court ruling that weakened a key deterrent against illegal migration. Spain estimates that about 69,500 migrants have returned from Ceuta to Morocco since last week's crossing, while Moroccan authorities said about 40,000 people entered the enclave. The death toll stands at 72 on the Spanish side of the border and 11 on the Moroccan side. Following the tense exchanges between Spain and other member states, the European Union will hold emergency talks on Tuesday to discuss the migration crisis in Ceuta. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday that talks with Iran were underway, warning that it was a last chance for Tehran to sign a good deal, but Iran denied that any negotiations were being held or planned. Asked about the status of the negotiations, Trump told reporters they are going on right now, adding that the two sides were speaking at the request of Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, among others. Trump said the talks are focused on reopening the Strait of Hormuz, which could come literally by tomorrow, and the denuclearization of Iran, which he said could take a little while.
I think we're going to maybe get something, but I want to give them every last chance before decapitation. Very tough to do what we have planned, still planned. We'll see what happens. But it's a very, very tough thing to do. I think I'm very proud of the fact that I'll give people a chance. This is a big move. To do an attack that big on a country, I'd rather not do it. Now, we've already, through lots of large attacks, but they were normal large. Hopefully they'll come to their senses, because what happened, cannot have a nuclear weapon, but hopefully they'll come to their senses.
Well, Iran, for its part, said it is not currently negotiating with the United States. Iran's foreign ministry denied on Monday that negotiations with Washington were taking place. Foreign ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai said that a deal was close on managing Hormuz together with Oman, but he insisted that such an agreement did not mean the reopening of the strait. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom's Maritime Trade Operations Agency on Tuesday said that a cargo vessel has reported being struck by an unknown projectile 20 nautical miles northeast of Al-Qasab, Oman. In a post on social media, UK MTO said the authorities are investigating the incident. It advised vessels in the area to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity. And moving on, a group of 25 Democratic-led U.S. states sued Donald Trump's administration on Monday, arguing that the latest round of tariffs on goods from 60 trading partners exceeds his legal authority to tax imports. The state's lawsuit, filed in the U.S. Court of International Trade in New York, follows previous challenges by small U.S. businesses. The states that sued, including Oregon and New York, all have Democratic attorneys general or governors. States and small businesses have successfully challenged the previous global tariffs imposed by Trump in his second term, but the president has continued to pursue new tariffs despite a series of legal setbacks. White House spokesman Kush Desai said the tariffs were an appropriate and legal response to unfair trade practices in other nations. Also, the U.S. State Department has notified Congress that it plans to close 5 foreign missions in a rare downsizing of America's global diplomatic footprint. In the notice sent to some congressional committees late last week, the State Department said it planned to close its post in St. George's, Grenada, Nagoya, Japan, Medan, Indonesia, Douala, Cameroon, and Winnipeg, Canada. The expected closures, which have not been previously reported, represent a rare example of the U.S. closing multiple foreign missions in a downsizing that is not tied to a particular geopolitical event. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has portrayed cost-cutting measures as necessary to right-size an organization many conservatives see as bloated and overly bureaucratic. Well, Venezuela's devastating twin earthquakes in June have killed more than 6,000 people, with thousands still displaced as rescue and recovery efforts continue. National Assembly Chief George Rodriguez said the death toll has risen to 6,125 after the 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude quakes struck on June 24th. The worst hit area was the coastal state of La Guaira, where nearly 200 buildings collapsed and more than 16,000 other structures have been declared unsafe. Rescue teams and families are still searching through the rubble, with nearly 17,000 people injured and around 1,400 reported missing. Venezuelan lawmakers have approved a new rental law aimed at helping displaced families find housing. The government says the measure could benefit around 400,000 homes. Interim leader Delcy Rodriguez has pledged thousands of new homes for quake victims as the country continues its recovery. Well, moving on, Cuba is once again grappling with a nationwide power crisis after another massive blackout plunged the island into darkness, highlighting the country's deepening energy challenges. Authorities have begun gradually restoring electricity after Cuba's 6th nationwide blackout of the year, with power returning to parts of Havana and several provinces. However, bad weather has disrupted restoration efforts, leaving many areas without electricity. The recurring outages, blamed on aging infrastructure, fuel shortages, and the impact of U.S. sanctions, have severely affected daily life, with residents facing prolonged power cuts, water shortages, and sweltering summer heat. Well, the United States is witnessing its largest ever outbreak of cyclosporiasis, with health officials now confirming the first reported deaths linked to foodborne parasitic infection. Michigan health authorities have confirmed 2 deaths connected to the nationwide cyclosporiasis outbreak, with both victims suffering from underlying health conditions aggravated by severe dehydration. The outbreak, linked to contaminated iceberg lettuce served at Taco Bell outlets, has spread across at least 9 states. Medical experts estimate around 22,000 cases nationwide and have raised concerns that regulatory changes to disease tracking may have contributed to the outbreak's unprecedented scale. And time now for some weather updates. In the United States, a wildfire left widespread destruction in a residential area in Spokane, Washington on Monday, with homes and properties severely damaged. Burned homes, debris and damaged property could be seen across the neighborhood as residents assess the aftermath. Around 60,000 people have been ordered to evacuate as wildfires threaten the city of Spokane. In Greece, firefighters used helicopters to battle a wildfire near Athens for a 4th day as strong winds spread the fire, destroying homes and farmland and forcing people to evacuate by land and sea. Over 400 firefighters and 21 aircraft were deployed near the communities of Kandali and Agia Skepi as plumes of thick black smoke and red flames engulfed the lush pine forest. Near the town of Megara, west of Athens, firefighters battled the wildfire as strong winds drove flames through dry vegetation, threatening nearby homes. Well, a fast-moving wildfire in Western Attica left homes and large areas of land burned on Monday. As per the government, strong winds restricted water-dropping aircraft, while investigators said the wildfire likely started in Boeotia and spread around 25 kilometers. In France, residents of Lahaul, a town in southwest, were allowed to return home on Monday after being evacuated because of a large wildfire. 10 days after a wildfire forced people to evacuate, residents were allowed to return home, though some may find their houses destroyed by the fire. To help ease the shock, local officials have set up a welcome center in which residents can get basic supplies and seek counseling for psychological support. More than 220,000 people were evacuated after the wildfire began on July 22nd. As evacuation orders are gradually lifted, the government is arranging temporary housing for people whose homes were destroyed while they are rebuilt. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Stay with us as we get to the legislative business to be taken in both houses of Parliament. India proposes rules to regulate two-wheeled ambulances for faster emergency response. And Tanvi Sharma and Kidambi Srikanth lead India's challenge at Korea Masters Super 300.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran. And moving on, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information Technology took a strong view of the removal of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's video from Facebook during a meeting with Meta officials. According to sources, members of the committee questioned the company's representatives over the incident and sought a detailed explanation. During the meeting, Meta officials acknowledged that the Prime Minister's video had been removed by mistake and apologized for the error. However, several members of the committee said the issue was not merely about an apology, but about fixing accountability. They stressed that those responsible for the mistake should be identified and that safeguards must be put in place to prevent similar incidents in the future. Some committee members also called for legal action against the Meta official responsible for removing the video, saying that if the incident resulted from negligence, accountability should be ensured. And some updates on proceedings of the monsoon session of Indian Parliament now. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will introduce the Taxation and Other Laws Amendment Bill 2026 in the lower house on Tuesday. The proposed legislation will replace the Taxation Laws Amendment Ordinance issued on June 5th, 2026. The ordinance had granted income tax relief on interest income and capital gains earned by foreign portfolio investors from investments in government securities. The new bill expands the scope of those reforms with additional measures designed to attract foreign capital. The Finance Minister will also introduce the Appropriation Number 3 Bill 2026. The bill will also be taken up for consideration and passing in the lower house. And moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a meeting with the visiting Uzbek Foreign Minister Bakhtiyor Saidov in New Delhi on Monday. The leaders undertook a detailed review of strategic partnership with particular focus on energy, infrastructure, trade, defense, education and culture. They also discussed key regional challenges and exchanged views on expanding multilateral cooperation. In his opening remarks, Dr. Jaishankar said the bilateral relation between the two countries has expanded over the years.
More modern times, we've had regular interaction at the political level, between our systems, at an institutional level. And I'm very glad to see that there's been a steady momentum in our ties. Our bilateral relations over the years have expanded. And today, they really span a very diverse range of domains, from construction and digital to energy, health, education. We want to take it into mining. And we have a trade today of close to $1 billion. We definitely think that that number should go up.
Well, President Draupadi Murmu is on a 3-day official visit to Odisha, highlighted by key engagements, including a train journey to Ganjam and temple visits. The President will travel from Bhubaneswar to Birhampur by a special train, marking a rare rail journey by the head of state during an official visit. A 3-tier security arrangement has been made inside and outside Bhubaneswar railway station to ensure the President has a hassle-free travel. After reaching Birhampur, President Murmu is scheduled to be in Taptapani, where she will offer prayers at Ma Kandhuni Devi temple. The President will return to Bhubaneswar on Wednesday. Well, India's Road Transport and Highways on Monday issued a draft notification proposing amendments to the Central Motor Vehicles Rules 1989 to establish a regulatory framework for two-wheeled road ambulances. Two-wheeled road ambulances can support rapid emergency response and last-mile access to medical care in rural and remote locations as well as hilly terrain. At present, two-wheeled road ambulances are not regulated as a distinct vehicle category under the Central Motor Vehicle Rule. Consequently, there are no national requirements governing their construction, functional safety, patient handling systems, type approval, registration and fitness inspection. The proposed framework is expected to bring greater safety and accountability to the design and operation of two-wheeled road ambulances. And on to some updates on rain and flood situations in Assam. Flood death toll rose to 87, while around 1.28 lakh people across 7 districts remain affected. Flood waters have started receding in several areas, but thousands of residents remain displaced, while agricultural land and homes continue to bear the impact of inundation. According to the Assam State Disaster Management Authority, Sivasagar remains one of the worst affected districts with around 60,000 people across 160 villages still impacted. Government has intensified relief operations as water recedes. The government has also stepped up financial assistance for affected families. The Meteorological Department in Jammu and Kashmir has forecast torrential rain and brief but intense spells of heavy showers across many parts of Union Territory over the next 5 days, prompting the authorities to issue an advisory warning of possible flash floods, landslides and mudslides in vulnerable areas. Flash floods also caused damage in Badgam and Hardas districts, where village infrastructure and agricultural lands affected. Rescue and relief operations are underway. Jammu and Kashmir Police and SDRF team rescued 4 people trapped in Betar River. And on to some sports news now. Newly crowned Taipei Open champion Tarvi Sharma and fit again Kidambi Srikanth will spearhead the country's challenge at the Korea Masters Super 300 badminton tournament. India's 6 players in the men's single and 10 in women's single main draws of the event in Asansi City. In the men's single, third seed Srikanth, who reaches the final of the U.S. Open, was forced to withdraw from the Canada Open due to a fitness issue. Now the former world #1 will begin his campaign against Israel's Daniel Dubovenko. Well, the 17-year-old Tanvi produced a sensational performance to clinch a maiden BWF World Tour title at the Taipei Open on Sunday. The historic triumph made her only the second Indian women's single player to win the Taipei Open, joining Saina Nehwal. In the women's single, Malvika Bansod also has a favourable start against a qualifier, while Tanya Hemant has been handed a difficult first-round clash against top seed Hina Akechi of Japan. And Harshita Jakar became the first Indian woman to feature at the Tour de France Femmes after leading a group of riders during the start of Stage 2 in Aigle of Switzerland. 19-year-old Harshita Jakar was among 8 cyclists selected for the World Cycling Talent Program, which gives riders from developing cycling nations exposure to elite racing environments. The group, comprising riders from Afghanistan, Algeria, Chile, Ethiopia, Namibia and Uganda, completed a 4.5-kilometer ride ahead of the professional peloton before Stage 2 of the race. The Tour de France Femmes is an annual women's road cycling stage race. It is part of the Women's World Tour and is one of the biggest and longest events of the women's calendar. The Tour de France Femmes began on August 1st in Lausanne and will end on August 9th in Nice. And the 2-day Lahaul festival has concluded in Chispa, bringing together spirituality, culture and tradition in the scenic Lahaul Spiti district of Himachal Pradesh. We leave you with some glimpses of this.